Hello, everyone. We're back on our nonsense. After saying I probably wouldn't record again until Monday, I decided I was going to play anyway, so I might as well record it. Um, Tonight on the docket, we have a more complicated game on a couple of levels. We're going to go for first two different spirits and therefore a larger island, and we're also going to go for a level 1 adversary this time. I think I'm also going to mix it up a bit by introducing the new spirits and adversaries through the handy card library before we play so that we can get a little bit of a feel for them and then go right into the gameplay. That means if you're already familiar with them, you could go skip over into the gameplay. I'll try to bookmark it if I can. This time, I'm going to run the other two spirits that I mentioned being my favorite starter spirits, Lightning Swift Strike here and the Spread of Rampant Green. These are not the ones that the game marks as low complexity, but, well, Lightning Swift Strike and Vital Strength of the Earth are, but not Spread of Rampant Green. But I think Spread of Rampant Green is easier to learn with than either of the other two low complexity ones. We'll get to those next time. We'll also be facing the Kingdom of Brandenburg-Prussia as our adversary. Okay. So, let's take a look quickly at these two and figure out what's up with them. So, Lightning Swift Strike, this spirit is all about damage and going fast. So, we've got a lot of fast powers and we've got some damaging powers. It's a very powerful spirit. I think it's quite good. It does have a downside that there's not a whole lot of defense here, so we can often be relying on other spirits or cards we get out of the deck if we want to try to defend the Dahan and get them to do work for us. So, we've got a straightforward growth track on the on this spirit. That's generally, as far as I can tell, what makes them decide that things are low complexity is having pretty straightforward tracks like this. We've also got a double growth option, unlike Earth, and a no growth option, unlike Earth. One of the interesting things about Vital Strength of Earth that we saw last time is all three options you get 1 point of growth, so you're always going to get more powerful, but you're never going to do it all that quickly. With Lightning, we have an additional consideration that we have to balance out. This middle growth here is by far the best way to ensure that we get more powerful more quickly, and when we need to reclaim, we don't get to unlock anything at all. So we have to have a little bit of foresight. In particular, if we want to unlock an extra card play for the reclaim turn, we have to make sure to do it the turn before, things like that. You'll also notice that the tracks on Lightning Swift Strike are sort of the opposite in terms of Earth. We start very low on energy and never get as high as Earth does, but we start very high on card plays and can rapidly get a whole lot more. It's a little bit awkward because if you glance down here, you see we have some sort of expensive cards. That means if we want to play the expensive stuff early, we have to lean on the single growth option because it gives us a burst of energy. There's no way, for example, to play Raging Storm on turn 1, which we sometimes want to do, without using this ability because the best we can do is 2 energy income. Okay. So, other things. We do have, like Earth, an important special power, Swiftness of Lightning. This means that every air element card we play lets us use one slow power as if it were fast. That can be the actual card that has the air element on it, or it can be a different card, or it can even be our innate power here, which is normally slow. So if everything we play is air, we can just play everything at fast even if it isn't, and maybe play this at fast too if at least one of the other cards is fast. This is really good. And it scales very well, unlike Vital Strength of the Earth's power, which builds those great little forts that never really get any stronger. This can often get stronger as the game goes on because you can get really powerful slow cards that either have an air element or that you cover with another card with an air element, and then you get to just kick out tons of damage at fast speed or whatever, and that can be really good. So for the hand cards, we've got 4 of the things. Lightning's Boon is one of the most game-changing starter cards there is. I think the other one we're going to see too, because it's with Spread of Rampant Green. And this one, you get to make your friend use powers as if they were fast. Technically, you can use it on yourself, but you generally don't have to because Swiftness of Lightning is so good, and you're going to prioritize taking purple cards in order to turn it on. There are a lot of powers that get a lot better if you can use them fast. Even some of the ones, just looking back at Vital Strength of Earth, you remember we never used Rituals of Destruction, the starting 3-power damage card, a 3-cost damage card, and pretty quickly got rid of it because it's awkward to try to use it at slow speed. Using it at fast speed is great. You can just devastate people. Similarly, there are a lot of other spirits that have cards that get a lot better if they're fast. You make a lot of friends by using this on other spirits and letting them get away with things. Harbinger of Lightning, pretty solid. Push some Dahan around. Sometimes you get a little bit of Incidental Fear, never hurts. Costs 0, which is great because this spirit quickly unlocks card plays, and you need to play a lot of cards to unlock this power, which is quite nice. Obviously, Thundering Destruction, just blow up some free buildings. Awesome. But you need to play a lot of cards, and this is one of your starting cards that's cheap. Shatter Homesteads, this one's good. You can use it to destroying a town often prevents you from having to worry about a land in the Ravage. Pretty sweet. Generally not great on turn 1 because it can't destroy an explorer. It doesn't say deal 2 damage, so you've just got to specifically remove the village. This, on the other hand, is often great on turn 1 if you can afford to play it, because it'll clear out all the explorers in any land, which will prevent a build and can cascade into bigger power. Obviously, these 3 cards are all slow, but they also all have a purple symbol, so in fact, you can use Swiftness of Lightning to play them quickly. That means they're better than fast, effectively, because you don't have to use this ability on them, even if you could, and you don't have to decide until the time comes to play them. So you'll often play Harbinger of Lightning at fast to set up for a fight, but you also have the flexibility to play it at slow in order to respond to exploring or something like that. Ditto Shatter Homestead. Sometimes you're going to blow up a village before a Ravage. Sometimes you're going to let them build first and take it out before it bothers you next turn. With a normal fast power, you have to play it before the invaders do things. With these slow ones with purple symbols using Lightning Swift Strike, you get the flexibility, and that's nice. This is just a nice, straightforward spirit, very good at blowing stuff up, which is very handy. That also means it scales quite well with some of the adversaries. It won't be relevant for the one we play tonight, but there are adversaries that make villages and cities more dangerous in various ways. Some of the higher level England makes them have more health. Higher level Sweden makes them hit harder. And because this just removes them, you don't have to worry about them hitting you harder in the Ravage. You don't have to worry about them having more health and taking more damage. You just pick them up. Lightning Swift Strike, good spirit. Then our other friend for tonight is a Spread of Rampant Green. This is the very first spirit I ever played in Spirit Island. Sort of just at random, but fun fact, I guess. A Spread of Rampant Green is much more like Vital Strength of Earth than the one we played before, than Lightning Swift Strike. The big deal with Spread of Rampant Green, this one counts as a medium complexity spirit, although I think it's quite forgiving to play, which is why I often recommend it for new players. The reason is it has this unusual growth option where you always get to grow into a jungle or wetland within 2, no matter what else you do. So, like Vital Strength of Earth, you just grow every single turn. Unlike Vital Strength of Earth, you don't have to worry about, oh wait, is this the turn where I'm growing at range 0 because I want to get a new power card, right? And have that sort of thing. Now, it's much harder for you to spread your presence into places that aren't jungles or wetlands. So that's sort of a downside. But this is a very forgiving power. It means you can't really mess up by locking yourself into not growing too frequently, which you can definitely have happen with Lightning Swift Strike if you just reclaim too often or whatever. You can also grow a second time with this, so unlike Vital Strength of Earth, you also aren't necessarily slow to grow. You can get the big grow. Now, the downside is we have an overall weaker couple of tracks than either Vital Strength of Earth or Lightning Swift Strike, right? Lightning Swift Strike, you get 2 card plays and then to start, and then you go 3, 4, 5, 6 and stop. And you get up to, I don't remember, 4 or 5 energy per turn. And Vital Strength of Earth, we don't get quite as many card plays, but you just get huge amounts of energy. It's harder for Spread of Rampant Green to play tons of big, expensive major powers over and over again, or just vomit out loads of cheap minors like the other two can. But you make up for it by having this innate power that's quite good quite late into the game, getting up to Defend 4. Defend 4 is going to be solid. You can probably find somewhere where that'll save you for most of the game unless you're getting pretty far behind. And you do get plant elements off of the track, which means that if you have majors that rely on having a lot of plant to get more powerful, you're very likely to be able to make it more powerful. We also have a second innate power, which sort of makes up for it, Creeper's Tear into Mortar. This power is pretty good, because if you can get it up to the second level, it'll just take out a village, which is nice. It is, unfortunately, also the power that I mess up with almost the most of any innate power ever, because if you get a 1-point tick on it, you only get to do something with it if you left a structure at 1 health, and it has range 0, so it's really hard to target, and I don't know, I just mess it up a lot. It's slow. Now, this, of course, is also a power that benefits quite a bit from the card in Lightning Swift Strike, who we'll be pairing up with this time, that allows you to run it fast. You can much better predict what's going to go on if you can do the damage first. You can maybe take out a village before it fights. You can at least be ready to have Dahan clear it out without messing up the math, whatever. We also have slightly more complicated special rules on the Spread of Rampant Green. Choke the land with green is the big meaningful one. It lets us get a sort of a minor Year of Perfect Stillness anywhere they try to ravage or build. If we have a double stack, we can destroy 1 influence from that stack to prevent that action. It's not quite as good as Year of Perfect Stillness, because Year of Perfect Stillness applies for the whole turn. So like if we prevent a ravage with this and then they want to build in that land or explore into it later, they'll do that. We also can't stop and explore with it. But it's still quite good, and it's especially good because we have this steady regeneration power that means when we add to the board, we can choose our destroyed presence tokens. We have to pay for it if the island has become blighted, so if we've taken too many blight hits. But we never really, by the time the island isn't healthy, we probably have enough energy that we can afford to do that. It means that we never really run out of the ability to do this. We're only limited by our ability to place our growth tokens in places, and we can place up to 2 a turn with this, and we have a power here that lets us place our 3rd. So we can quite quickly start blanking things. The downside of it, of course, is that eventually you have to clear all those things out and you're not making any gains, but it's still a good way to just not have to worry about somewhere for a while. We have 2 of our starting cards are awesome. Gift of Proliferation is the other one that just radically changes how the game works if this spirit is in it. You get to grow another spirit, and obviously that's great. It's especially great because there are some spirits that are power gated based on being slow to grow. Someone like Vital Strength of Earth, who has really good tracks but can never naturally get 2 presence onto the board in the same turn. You just get to get ahead of the curve with Gift of Proliferation in a way that's really, really powerful. Overgrow in a Night is the other one. It's often hard at higher levels to really weave this in elegantly. It costs a fair bit of energy. It also takes a card play early on when, it takes a while to get up to even 2 card plays. Well, it takes a while to be playing a lot of cards with with spread of rampant green. So there are some downsides. On the other hand, being able to grow 3 times in a turn, you just get to get your stuff going much faster, and you get the additional ability to start targeting this easier because you have to target this from places of power. This also lets you add to any land within range 1, which helps you break out of jungles and wetlands, which you normally have a problem with. Fields Choked with Growth is a totally reasonable card. It's a lot like the Promise of the Fertile Land, I think, the one that lets you move Dahan around as Vital Strength of Earth. It's not as good, but it also only costs 1. It only costs 0, and the other one costs 1, so, you know. But it has the same sort of thing where you can use it to disrupt a Ravage by pushing a village out of it, or you can get ready for a fight by bringing in some Dahan. Range 1, you pretty quickly get your presence all over all the jungles and wetlands, and on most boards, except for the flavor board, almost every space on the board is going to be within one of a jungle or wetland, so it's pretty easy to get good coverage on this pretty quickly. Then finally we have Stem the Flow of Freshwater, an incredibly annoying card on multiple levels to try to deal with for me, because I just mess it up all the time, sort of like this, except even worse. So it does 1 damage to a structure. If the target land is a mountain or swamp, it instead does 1 damage to each structure there. Obviously, there are 2 problems with this. One problem is that it won't ever kill anything, and it's slow. So you have to remember to distribute your damage right with Dahan in a land where you're going to play this to leave the things at 1, and then you finish them off with this, which is, you know, it's good if you can get it. Sometimes this will represent 2 to 3 damage for 0 mana, which is a good card. And anything that costs 0 and has these 2 elements is handy to have in your deck because it lets you unlock this more easily without having to worry about having enough energy for it, just having enough card plays. So it's not the worst or anything like that, but I mess this up all the time, particularly because it's a real pain in the butt to target. It has to be within 1 of your place of power. But what you almost always want to do with this is team it up with Creeper's Tear into Mortar, which has range 0 but doesn't rely on a place of power. So you have to, there are really fiddly setups of presence that you have to work with to maximize the way those powers interact with each other, and I just find myself messing it up all the time. Hopefully, doing this will make me get better at it. I think that's it. So, yep, that's Spread of Rampant Green. It is easy. It might sound like I'm down on the poor Spirit because we covered this card last, and I find it annoying, and this power is sort of annoying, but these 2 cards are fantastic. The sort of basic play pattern of the Spirit is really, really good. You very quickly get places of power in a bunch of jungles and wetlands. You use those to project defense over quite a wide area. You can bring Dahan into the areas that you're going to defend with Fields Choked with Growth, and you can clean up things that are left behind from your defense with Stem the Flow and Creeper's Tear into Mortar. If you don't have anything else going on at the time, you can sort of use that to gradually clear out any villages and maybe even cities as you turn it up that get left behind. It feels very sort of like a spreading kudzu, which I like for the flavor, and it's also quite powerful. It's one of my favorite to play. It will also be fun, not intentionally, I just wanted to finish off the ones that I think are good intro ones, but it'll be fun to play with Lightning Swift Strike because all 3 of its slows benefit a lot from being made fast, but that's true of pretty much anyone who has a bunch of slows. That card is just great. Okay, so for our adversary, this time we have the Kingdom of Brandenburg-Prussia, which is kind of a strange title to have for an adversary. I guess maybe it's relying on this being alt history or something like that, but as far as I can tell, Brandenburg-Prussia was never really a main title. Anyway, this is an East German state, roughly on the border between modern Poland and Germany, run by the Hohenzollern dynasty between the 1500s and the 1900s. In the late 1800s, they unified Germany under the not-so-tender mercies of the famous and/or infamous Iron Chancellor, Otto von Bismarck, and became German emperors until the dynasty was deposed in the aftermath of the First World War. So What exactly they're doing on our island isn't clear. They were not really a major colonial power until they were the German Empire in the late 19th and early 20th century. But, you know, we also don't have an island full of cool spirits in our world, more's the pity, so clearly something alternate has happened there, and that's fine. In terms of the game, which I guess is probably what you're here for, rather than my thoughts on history, they are models of German efficiency. This means they're by far the easiest adversary to deal with when you're first starting to up the difficulty of the game. Not necessarily in terms of game difficulty, but in terms of not melting your brain horrifically, which is why we're starting with them. This is where I would recommend someone go with the game once you feel like you're reliably beating it with a variety of spirits on the normal difficulty, or if the normal difficulty doesn't feel very hard to you after learning about it from YouTube or whatever. All the changes that Brandenburg-Prussia makes come during setup. So normally the basic power that you get no matter what level you're playing at is it adds additional villages on the starting board. The first level power adds more additional villages, and then all the future powers make that exploration deck smaller. So it means you get fewer and fewer level 1 cards, you start getting level 3 cards earlier, eventually you get fewer level 2 cards, finally at the top level you get no level 1 cards at all, you start with a ridiculous level 3, then you get some level 2s, then you get a bunch of 3s. All of the adversaries also affect the fear deck, making it bigger and bigger and bigger, making it harder to get the extra fear conditions unlocked. I'm sure it does something to the game. I don't find that all that noticeable. What's much more noticeable with these, of course, is that they start getting scary explorers and they start getting their land rush power, which I said applied during setup, but of course it doesn't. This happens... I'm sorry, that was wrong. This happens when you flip a stage 2 card that has this symbol on it, which is all the stage 2 exploration cards except for the coastal lands one. So any of the stage 2s that are otherwise just like stage 1s, so the single terrain ones. When you flip that, you have to add a village to a land without villages on each board that has at least one village on it. So they basically get extra villages showing up during stage 2. And at the higher levels, that stage 2 starts very, very quickly because all the level 1s get parsed out of the deck. So this also, of course, means that it can get harder to predict what's going to happen because you go through the stages faster. The other not so obvious upshot of it is that you just get less time as you go up and up in the level, because if the deck of invader cards runs out, like if they try to explore and they don't have a card to explore into, you just lose. So on this setting, one of your big concerns is that you need to not only survive all those 2 and 3 level cards, you also need to actually kill them quickly enough that they don't get to run out the deck. But for this one, we don't need to worry about that. In theory, you can play with just the stage 2 escalation. You don't even have to play at level 1. I guess that must be something that the tabletop game tells you can do because the port lets you do it, but it never even occurred to me. So when I played Tabletop Spirit Island, we just went straight for level 1, and it didn't seem to be unbeatable or unfair or anything like that. So that's one reason that we're skipping the so-called level 0. Okay, let's see what we can do about these Prussians. So I'm not going to bother to min-max these boards or anything like that. Okay, that's spooky. It randomly knew who I wanted to play. Nice. Good job, game. Okay, I'm not going to min-max the boards or anything like that. The reason I rotated the bottom one to face the other way like this is that theoretically this is the way you're supposed to set it up if you do a 2-board game. It'll automatically do it this way if you use the story-based new game start. If you don't use the story-based new game start, all bets are off and you can do whatever you want. For a long time on the tabletop, we misunderstood and thought it was supposed to go this way, which is how it works if you do the thematic map, I'm pretty sure. But in any case, this is the official way. This is what you'll get if you do the story-based start, so I'm going to go for that. Prussia, Yeah, see here it'll let you do base level, and it says it's difficulty 1 as opposed to difficulty 0. I had no idea. I'm just going to turn it up to this. Okay, let's go. We're going to explore initially into the sands. I don't know whether that's good or bad for us yet because I didn't bother to do the thing. When we would play on the tabletop, we would set up the whole board, and then we would choose our spirits and choose which board each of us were going to be on looking at the board. I found that much easier to parse. I hope that they can in the future institute something like that for this port. I would find that much easier to deal with. Okay, so we've got lightning up here. This is the what the lightning presence looks like, and then we've got a spread of rampant green down here. With spread of rampant green, you can see we start with 1 token each in 2 different lands. We pretty quickly want to turn one of those into a 2-stack because we want to be able to target all enveloping green and stem the flow of fresh water off of it. We know we're going to be able to grow somewhere this turn with that, and it looks to me like this is where we're going to want defend 2 because defend 2 is not going to be enough here. We are probably going to do, I almost always do the add a presence +1 card play on the first turn with spread of rampant green because I generally don't want to play Overgrown a Night on the first turn. And it's the only way you can play 2 cards on the first turn, which I generally want to do. It just feels like you get more done. Usually what I do is then remove this one because it gets me an extra energy, and since I know I'm going to be able to grow next turn no matter what I need to do, I'll be able to unlock the true second card play on the second turn. I'm inclined to do that, and I'm inclined to just add the second presence here because it will allow us to have access for our place of power targeted things to this land if that comes up, or to this land, which might also come up. We'd sort of rather protect this than this, all things equal, because it's got a blight there, although this has a Dahan, so it's close. We might end up being able to do both, of course, or it's pretty likely that lightning will bail us out over here. But regardless, I like to get places of power pretty quickly. They are very important to target this from. The only reason you wouldn't, I suppose, is I could, the other option is, well, actually, I should think about that. The other option is I could plan to make a place of power here next turn in order to defend this. Or, I guess we'd rather, if we're going to defend, we want to defend here because there's going to be a Dahan that'll kill this guy. So, we can reconsider everything about our lives. In the classic way of these videos where I confidently say I'm going to do something and then think better of it. But that's one of the benefits of talking through plays. So, the other option, which I'm now growing to like, is I could put this here, and then we could get this here. Now, remember, I pointed out we've got this combination of stem the flow of fresh water plus creepers tear into mortar. This lets us get 2 damage on a village, but it's very fiddly to target because it has to be a land that is within one of our places of power, but also has one of our presence there because this is range 0. So it's pretty easy to target if you're just targeting a place of power, but if you're trying to target a single outlier like this, it has to be adjacent to a place of power and it gets really awkward. But we can set that up here. So what we can do is we can just set it up so that what'll happen is they'll build here, and then we'll just blow up that village. They'll build here, and then next turn we will plan to get our defense ability there, and that will cause us to be able to defend there. Now, I have to make sure we can actually get our defense ability next turn. We can only do it... No, that's the problem. Oh, no, it works fine. So in order to get our defense ability next turn, what we have to do is we have to play 2 cards, and we have to get this plant unlocked, and we need 2 energy, which means we can unlock the plant with our free grow, and we can get a second card play with this and add a presence with this. And then what that lets us do is play both of these cards. That gets us to 1 blue, 3 green, because we get 1 green off the track. And side note, I guess this is the first track we've seen that has plant elements on it. They stack up. So it's kind of weird, right? Because this says plant and this says plant and not 2 plants, but obviously we don't add all this up. But obviously otherwise this one's pointless, so I don't think it really confuses anyone. Anyway, That means we will be able to trigger this, targeting here. That will cause the Dahan to kill the building. That seems great. That means we cover these two. Generally, if you've got a spirit that's covering 2 builds on turn 1, you're pretty happy. There are 2 lands of each type per spirit, so if there are 2 problem lands in a turn and you cover everything in those lands, you're doing your job. Unfortunately, I think in terms of doing our job, old Lightning Swift Strike here is probably going to let us down. I don't think there's anything anyone's going to be able to do about this turn, but that's what you get really when you start with a city there. What's pretty impressive is that if this city weren't here, Lightning Swift Strike could deal with both of these. So for Lightning Swift Strike, I almost always want to play Raging Storm on turn 1 because a lot like Rituals of Destruction for the Earth, for Vital Strength of Earth, this is the best on turn 1. 1 damage, or the best on Explorers. 1 damage to each invader, clears out all the Explorers, and prevents a build. Now, there is another option, which is to say you can unlock 2 energy with a double grow, which is good, and then you can play Shatter Homesteads as a slow power, because remember, you're not required to use the swiftness of lightning to play this fast. You can just use it slow, blow up whatever house they built, and then you get much of the same benefit, but you also get some extra fear. The reason that often isn't a good idea is that it leaves the Explorer alive, and that's just annoying potentially later. This time, though, we got sort of lucky that one of the Explorers popped up here where there are already some Dahan. So if I blow up whatever village they build there with Shatter Homesteads, the Dahan will then proceed to kill them on the next turn, which is nice. So that means I could get away with double growing here, and I always want to get away with double growing if I can. The question then becomes where I want to double grow to. We have to target Shatter Homesteads from a place of power, and we have to target Thundering Destruction from a place of power. So we generally want to have double stacks with this spirit, and that's backed up by how this growth option works, right? First we place it range 2, then we place it range 0. So the sort of platonic ideal of what to do with this power is to pick a space within 2 and set up a place of power there. The sort of obvious place to project force would be here, but because we don't have any active plans to fight the Ravage here next turn, one of the presence would get burned by the invaders, and that would be bad. The other option is to go over here or to go over here. Those are the ones that I think are sort of realistic. The nice thing about going over here is that we're unlikely to have to worry too much about losing the place of power to a Ravage later, because our friend has 2 here, which means they can use their special ability to choke the land with green to blank a Ravage. They'll always do that if we can't win a Ravage here, because they'll lose one of the power anyway if we lose it. So I think I'm going to develop into this safe place here. Then that means we play Shatter Homesteads and Harbingers of the Lightning, because those are the only 2 we can play. And interestingly enough, I think we want to play both of these as slow. Shatter Homesteads we definitely want to play as slow because our target is the village that's going to get built here. Harbingers of the Lightning, we sort of want to see what develops so we can figure out where we're most likely to want Dahan in the future. Right now, we don't need any Dahan anywhere because, well, we wouldn't mind, if nothing else better comes up, we wouldn't mind having 1 Dahan here because it would kill this guy after this guy tries to Ravage for no reason, because we're going to burn the house here with Stem and Creepers. But we're already gonna kill the village here. I guess another one here would kill the Explorer too. So putting it here or here would be okay, but there's no reason to commit to that, because in both cases we're just getting 1 lone Explorer. Whereas if they if they explore into, say, here or into here, maybe we might, though we couldn't get them there. Well, we'll see. Anyway, there's no reason to do it earlier. Luckily, we don't have to commit anyway. We can hit finish playing cards, and then it'll let us play them as fast if we want, and if we don't, it'll just let us play them as slow. We also got the Gift of Proliferation up, which means we get to start getting our power on with Lightning's Swift Strike. This is a complicated one because next turn... Actually, this could be really good. Well, So in order to play both of our cards next turn, we're going to need to have 4 energy. The way that we can get 4 energy is that we can double grow, and we can proliferate off this track and then double grow to the 4 energy. The advantage of that is that we get a lot of energy, and we get a lot of energy income going, which is great. The downside is, on the next turn, we will be reclaiming, and then we will only be able to play 2 cards, which means it'll be difficult to use all that energy. The other thing we could do in order to be able to play both of these next turn is we could single grow with gain in energy. If we do that, the problem is we don't actually unlock anything that's meaningful on that turn. And we don't really unlock anything meaningful with this either, because we end up uncovering this with this, but that doesn't get us an extra energy. It's the next one that gets us an extra energy. If we unlock this with the gain 3, we're not really doing a lot better than if we just did the double grow. And if we unlock this with the gain 3, then we got effectively nothing from the growth. We're in very good shape after this turn. The only problem area we're going to have is here. I think that means we can afford to get greedy with Lightning's early card plays and only play 2. It is definitely greedy because you're effectively losing sort of 2 card plays there, because if you can play 3, you can almost always trigger this. But the downside, too, of getting Lightning to 3 card plays really quickly is you end up having to reclaim a whole lot because it takes you a while to build up enough power cards to be able to do 2 good turns. Even once you get to 6 power cards, you often whiff on some of the minors or something like that, so you don't get 2 good 3-card turns anyway. So I think what we're going to do is grow this one somewhere and then plan to double grow next turn. I love getting a good double grow turn in too. We could also double grow next turn to here and here, but then we could only play this. We couldn't also play Lightning Spoon. Maybe we won't care, but this seems like making this fast is going to be good. That just seems like something that's going to be enjoyable for us. So, well, we'll commit to that later, but okay. So currently I have reach 1 with this spirit. I can't get down to here, which would be bad if they invaded into jungle. I also can't get any of this stuff. I think what's best is to grow into here, and that'll get us coverage to pretty much everything except this, if we want to double this up next turn. So that'll be nice. Okay. Now, as I said, it'll let us use either of these as fast, but we don't want to, so let's see what happens. Invaders build in the sands, as we knew would happen. And then they explore jungles. Okay. Well, that means that it would have been a little bit better to place the presence here, but since I'm going to double place this turn, I can just get one down here anyway. It didn't end up mattering a lot. Okay, so now our plan is to use our annoying but powerful Stem the Flow and Creeper's Tear into Mortar combo to get rid of that thing, so now we don't have to worry about this in the Ravage. Use Shatter Homesteads to get rid of that thing, so now we don't have to worry about that in the Ravage. And we're going to plan to defend this with our Spread of Rampant Green ability, so we won't have to worry about this in the Ravage. We could send some Dahan into here, but there's just no way we're going to be able to bail them out. We have not set ourselves up to bail them out. And there wasn't really a good way we could set ourselves up to bail them out. What we're basically doing here is we're prioritizing Lightning Swift Strike getting more powerful over having a perfect game or whatever. We're going to get blighted here, but Lightning Swift Strike is going to be getting way more energy income than it usually does, which means it won't have to lean as much on this ability, which means we can pretty quickly ramp up to being truly terrifying, and that'll be good in the long term. So now what we want to decide is whether we're planning to fight here. The problem with fighting here is that unless we do something about it, they will build a city here, which means even if we manage to trigger the defend 4 on spread of Rampant Green, that won't be enough to defend everything there, which means it might make sense to give up on that and evacuate the Dahan that are there with Harbingers of the Lightning. Presumably we would knock them into here to get the extra fear, or maybe into here so that we would kill it. We could even do 1 and 1. What we'd probably do is 1 and 1, so that we'd be ready to fight here once we hit marshes, and then we'd kill the village that gets built here after we defend. I think that's probably pretty good. It's possible we'll be able to defend here, either with a card or by triggering this and triggering this to blow up the village, and that would be enough. But there's a risk we won't be able to, and we'll just lose Dahan pointlessly. And even if we do that, we don't end up that much better off than if we just burn the village here. So, we're going to do that. Okay. On to the next growth. We're going to put... We can't up this to a place of power because it's not a jungle or wetland. We could try to get range on this. We could up this to a jungle or to a place of power. Oh, we need to up this to a place of power. Yeah, because we want to use our defense here this turn, and it has to be targeted from a place of power. So, per our plan, the only way we can get this to work is if we put this here, and then we use this one to get the second card play and the second energy to let us play both of these cards. I think for this one, we will get the second one here just because places of power are so much better than other things for us. And then we'll aim to use our growth next turn to extend into this area through here or here. We also will get a bonus growth off of Overgrowing a Knight. I guess in theory we could use it for fear, which basically never happens, but weirder things have come up. Okay, so we get this, we get this. Sadly, well, we could once again reconsider this. If we put this token here instead, I could attempt to play correctly with Creepers Tear into Mortar. We could do 1 damage to this, 1 damage to this, leaving this at 1, and then kill it in the slow phase with Creepers Tear into Mortar. We could also just add the... We could actually just use Overgrown Knight to add the presence there if we decide we want to do that. That's easier than undoing. And I'm also not 100% sure that's what we want to do. The downside of doing that is that we like places of power so much with Spread of Rampant Green, and it's hard to establish places of power if they're not in wetlands or jungles. So the other thing that we do with this is put 1 here in order to turn it into a place of power next turn. I'm not sure it's any better to lose the value of getting a presence in a better place in order to not waste this trigger and to get rid of an explorer. But I do hate wasting this trigger because it just feels, well, like a waste. So I guess we could also use, well, that's fiddly. We'll deal with it later. We're getting a little into the weeds of over-analysis here, which could probably be the channel title the way it's developing, but still try to avoid too much. Okay, so we also already knew what we were going to do here. Our plan is to unlock the 4 energy to let us play both of our cards this turn, and to do that by unlocking both of these with the double growth option. That certainly means we want to establish a new place of power with this spirit, and because they invaded into jungles, we'd like to be able to get to here. I think generally I'm happiest establishing in places where I know it's going to be safe for a while. Since we're fighting in sands now, it'll be a little while before we have to again, so I won't have to worry about this for a while. And then we play both our cards. Okay. So we're going to use Lightning Moon on Spread of Rampant Green because it doesn't do anything on Lightning Swift Strike. I'm not convinced we want to use this as a fast, but we could. It'd be sort of cool. We could... One of the fun things that we could in theory do with it is we could push another Dahan into here. out of, say, here, which would kill the explorer. But I think if we wanted... I think doing that with Overgrow in a Night and Creepers Tear into Mortar is better. Now, the big advantage here is if I Overgrow into a Night into here, I can play Creepers Tear into Mortar now, put the damage on this, and prevent myself from messing it up in the future, which would be a good idea. So I think we're going to do that. In terms of which one we place here, I don't think it really matters because we're going to unlock this second card play next turn with our free growth if we don't, and unlocking this doesn't do anything. But since we know we want to get our second card, we might as well do that. And then we'll tear into Mortar here, so this now has a damage on it, which means when we do 2 damage in the Ravage, we will not be able to mess it up. That's good. We defend 2 there. We're going to bopped here. That's okay. We have Raging Storm up. I didn't mention it because we're going to play it because it was one of our 2 things, but it's going to be totally fine here. We're going to use it to take out an Explorer here or here. We might as well take out this one. There's a Dahan in both places, but worst case scenario, we can let this Dahan die, whereas we definitely don't want to each lose a presence here. Although, oh, wait, hold on. Spread of Rampant Green is going to have an easy time of defending us here, whereas it would be harder here because we'd have to get a second presence here, which we won't be able to do. So let's actually take out this one. And then we'll just plan to defend here next turn with the all-enveloping green. We can also, if something goes horribly wrong, we can just blanket with the power and not care about it very much, so that's good. We can push some Dahan. We're already winning this Ravage entirely. We're already winning this Ravage entirely. We could push a Dahan into here to clean up this Explorer. Or we could wait and see what happens and probably push, like, extra Dahan into here to fight. Probably won't push Dahan into here because we're going to get a bunch of extra cards next turn, so we might well get some defenses that'll be useful here, but we'd have to have defend 5, which is not trivial. And if we don't, we just end up losing a bunch of Dahan. And if we do, we might well have a spare card play for Harbingers of the Lightning anyway. So let's just go for holding off on this until we see what they do. Yep. Right. It asked me if I want to stop even Ravages that I obviously wouldn't, which makes sense. I could stop this build by sacrificing one of these tokens. It's sort of weirdly tempting, but I don't see any other obvious place to use all-enveloping green next turn. I guess the option is we could prevent the build here. We could plan to all-enveloping green here. But we're not going to have 3 card plays, so it's not going to be more than defend 2. And defend 2 is not enough even if we take that out. I think we just allow the build here. Okay. Wetlands. Fair enough. So let's see. Did we get any more useful information? Not really. I guess we know they didn't explore into mountains, so we could clear out one of these guys into here to help kill stuff. We could also, if we thought we were going to over-defend somewhere, this can also push a village. So if we thought we were going to over-defend somewhere, we could push a village in that we wanted to clean up. Like, getting rid of this village would be nice because it's causing explorers to hit this and this that wouldn't otherwise. Now, none of that's going to matter because we've got an explorer here and we're probably not going to be bothered to clean it up. And I don't really want to drag it in here, which is the obvious place to drag it, because then our 2 defense off of this wouldn't be enough anymore. So I think we'll probably just push one of these guys in here to clean up the explorer. We could also push this guy somewhere else. They just explored into wetlands. I think we'll do that. Okay. We will start hopefully developing more defense cards now that will help us do a little bit more of these scattered defenses and make things like this not just sending Dahan to their deaths. Okay. Obviously, we're going to reclaim on both this turn because we got nothing in our hands. So that means we're both going to get a power card. We want to reveal our power cards before we do anything else because we can't undo past that, including the, like, free growth for Spread of Rampant Green. And we have... It's an easy minor for Spread of Rampant Green. We have, like, no energy economy. None of those are great. In fact, those are all pretty dire. We've got nothing with both blue and green to help us turn on the higher levels of this power. I mean, this could have blue and green. This card's really weird. You just use it to fix elements. You always target another spirit because then they get the elements and it's bonus. But we don't have a lot of... The only overlap we really have for things we want for our innate powers is blue, and blue is only useful for unlocking the really highest levels of this thing. You know, we could give blue a useless green. We also mostly only care about getting blue-green ourselves, so targeting Lightning Swift Strike, we could give ourselves blue and green and give Lightning whatever it needs, and that would probably turn on a higher level of this, maybe would turn on a higher level of this. It's not bad. Reaching Grasp can be good if you have any of the spirits that are really finicky about where their presence can go. We don't currently have any of those spirits, so I don't love it. Shadows of the Burning Forest at least has a green, which is the element we want the most, but it sucks. Like a lot. It makes some fear. I mean, I guess if they explored into the mountain or the jungle, it's pretty good. I guess... It's sort of okay if they just explored into mountain or jungle because you can play it, you know you'll be able to push both the explorer and the village they just built, but it's a push and it doesn't take care of it. It also gets, to be fair, it also, like every slow power, gets much better if it becomes fast due to this card, so that's a consideration. Drought, I don't know. Look, this is like a lot of total damage. It works well with this thing that can do damage to everyone there. I hate adding Blight off of cards. Getting to Blighted Island creates bookkeeping nonsense that's annoying even on the computer. This is probably a good card, but it also has none of the elements we want, and with Vital Strength of the Earth, for example, it just isn't worth worrying about the elements because it's so little of what makes Vital Strength of the Earth good. With Spread of Rampant Green, you just want all-enveloping green every turn. You're planning on it happening every turn. So if you're going to take a card that doesn't contribute to all-enveloping green, you done goofed. You don't want to do that. I think it's probably Shadows of the Burning Forest here. We're still quite low on the energy economy, which means being 0 cost is pretty good. It gives us a white symbol, which we generally have enough of, but is good for this power. It gives us a green, which we want the most. White and green is a good combo for us. We could make it fast, which makes me like it more. I'm going to go for that. I guess, in theory, I should see what the option is for this guy first. Maybe we'll get... If we unlock a major here, maybe we'll get a major that makes us want to take this because the increased effect is just that good. I'm skeptical, but it's worth looking. The question is whether we want a major. The advantage is we have done a sort of an uncharacteristically Earth-like growth with this spirit. We've got 4 energy, only 2 card plays, which is generally an indication that majors are a good place for you to go. The downside is, in order to get a major, we'd have to get rid of one of our currently existing powers, and all of our starting powers are fine to good. Raging Storm is obviously worse than any 3-cost major in the game, as it should be, but this turn it would still cut off an entire land for 2 turns, right? Like, if we just played it here, we wouldn't have to worry about the Explorer, and we wouldn't have to worry about the thing the Explorer built. Now, I suppose the same again, because there are Dahan here, it's the same situation as it was here. The same can be said for Shatter Homesteads. We could just let this guy build, then Shatter, and we'd be fine. Let's go for a major. I'm a sucker for majors. Indomitable Claim. This is a sweet card. You add one of your presence in the land, even if you normally could not due to land type. Again, that's only other spirits that comes up with anyway, but fine if it does. And you get defend 20. Defend 20, obviously a large number. Also, being able to add one of your presence in target land is obviously very powerful, right? Like, that's just a good thing for you to be able to do because it ramps up your power quicker. When your friend is spread of rampant green, it's a much less vital thing for you to be able to do because who cares? Spread of rampant green is going to get you to go through your whole track before the game meaningfully ends. We also have here 2 slow powerful cards, which are the kinds of cards Lightning Swift Strike is generally pretty happy to take. Neither of them have an air symbol, which is too bad because it means that they can't make themselves fast, but of course, Swiftness of Lightning, it doesn't. You don't have to make the cards that generated the air fast, and all our current cards generate air. So we could, for example, like if this turn we're planning to play Shatter Homesteads as a slow power, well, we could use it to make some other slow power fast. We wouldn't suffer anything. The problem is we couldn't afford to. We're only going to have 5 energy. So if we're playing Shatter Homesteads this turn, the only other card we could play is Trees and Stone Speak of War. Yeah. We also probably don't care this turn because we couldn't play this turn at all because it costs 6. And Accelerated Rot, 4 damage is sort of overkill for anything we're going to need this turn. You know, we could use it to clear out 2 wetlands, which is fine. I guess 4 damage here would actually be quite good. I'm sort of talking myself around. I'm sort of talking myself around on this Accelerated Rot. The other nice thing about Accelerated Rot is that this, if you have kicker text here, making Accelerated Rot more powerful relies on getting more blue and more green. And blue and green are the elements, as we just talked about, that Spread of Rampant Green really, really wants. So the downside is we'd have to pick up... We don't have any yellow cards right now, any of the sun element. So even if we have Spread of Rampant Green take Elemental Boon, which these cards are pretty close, I could certainly take Elemental Boon. Even if we have them take Elemental Boon, we need to get access to another sun symbol in order to be able to kick this. That said, dealing 9 damage and removing a blight and being able to make it fast is pretty preposterous. Like, I'm down for that. That would be fun. So the long-term thing to do here is to pick Accelerated Rot here and pick... No, we're not doing that. That was a misclick. The long-term thing to do is to pick Accelerated Rot here, pick Elemental Boon here, and then plan on going ham on Accelerated Rot as soon as we can pick up an additional sun symbol. I guess we need something with sun and green because we don't have another green, but yeah, that gets a little awkward, obviously. That's sort of a long-term plan. But at this stage of the game, 4 damage and 2 fear will clear out or substantially address pretty much any land on the map. So that would still be a completely reasonable play this turn. Instead of effectively preventing a build here or here, we would clear out everything here. We could make it fast, we'd prevent a build here, and we'd kill all this stuff. Do we have the range? Let's make sure we have the range before we embarrass ourselves. Yeah, it's fine. It's 2 of a normal thing, so we could do it from here or from here, even if it was a place of power. So basically, we could just say, oh, this wetland that otherwise is going to be a big problem, it's fine. It's taken care of. And then we can just do Shatter the Homesteads. The weird thing about the way Swiftness of Lightning works is there's no real difference between playing the Shatter the Homesteads this turn and next turn if we just want to cut out a village that they build here in the build phase. We play it slow this turn, we play it fast next turn, doesn't matter. So we could replace Raging Storm with Accelerated Rot, which does the same thing except better in every way, except costing 1 more energy, which is real. But we could replace this. We could play these 2 this turn, or these 2 this turn, and that would allow us to use the other air element to make this fast and just devastate them. That seems great. We're going to do that. So the obvious thing to do there is to get really ambitious and take Elemental Boon. That is the thing we want to do if we have dreams of kicking Accelerated Rot. And kicking Accelerated Rot is a nice dream. If you live that dream, you are in good shape. This is also a very nice card for making sure that we get to hit the nice element combinations here. My concern with it is it costs an energy, and this one is free. And we're probably playing, and we could very easily play Lightning's Boon this turn, which would let us, like, not really do anything useful, because this only lets us push things out of mountains and jungles, and there's no jungle we're going to be having any trouble in this turn that this will help us address. Side note, this plan is getting us ravaged here and here, and I'm just not caring, and I'm okay with that. This can only target jungles and wetlands, but fortunately, with the exception of this single sands, only jungles and wetlands are at all concerning to us right now, so every time we play this for this foreseeable future, it'll be good. It can also, if we get these lands blighted, remove the blight, so that's nice. I didn't mean to do that, but I will be doing it, so it's fine. Yeah, I'm going to go with Elemental Boon. This card is just, all we'll get out of it this turn is the trigger and 2 fear. We don't have any future jungle coming up that we know of. Yeah, okay, we're doing that. So now we get to add a presence in a wetland or a jungle. We're not picking one of these jungles because we won't get up to 2, and so there's no point. This wetland's about to be cleared out. That would give us targeting on... No, we already have targeting on this. The only place we don't have targeting is here. And in order to get that, we go here. So let's do that. Do we want to move towards unlocking the extra plant or unlocking the third card play? We want the third card play, especially since we just got Elemental Boon. Our elements are going to be pretty well dealt with. So then this turn, we need to play one of these 2 cards with a blue in it, and we need to play a card with a green in it, which is anything. So we're not going to be able to kick this turn, and this has no useful elements for triggering this. So Elemental Boon will do no good to Lightning Swift Strike this turn. If it will do no good to Lightning Swift Strike, I don't see any particular reason to use it. Yeah, I don't see any particular reason to use it. So that means we're looking at probably Gift of Proliferation, because we might as well get Creeper's Tear into Mortar up, because we can use it here to kill everything. Seems fine. And, we can't do anything. There's no way. This is not going to be enough to save anywhere, right? No, and neither is this. Because we could play this and make things fast for Spread of Rampant Green this turn, but it doesn't look to me like that does anything functionally useful. So probably what we want to do is we'll use Creeper's Tear into Mortar on this thing in the slow phase. We'll do... Oh, wait, everything here is dying anyway. So Creeper's Tear into Mortar seems unlikely to do anything useful. Oh, huh. So we could use Elemental Boon here if we got white, blue, green off of Elemental Boon. That would actually get this up to the 2 white, 3 green level, which would do 2 damage to something at range 0. They're going to build here, so we could just blow up what they build here. That seems great. That does clear us out of energy, but next turn we can do gain power, gain energy, and that will be probably a pretty reasonable thing for us to do anyway, because we'd like to get some more power cards, and our energy sucks, and our first grow next turn gives us a second card play, but our second grow next turn doesn't do anything for us that turn unless we want a 4th, which I don't think we do. So, yeah, this looks good. Once again, I've decided not to play this and then decided to play it, but that's the wonders of Spirit Island. This is not going to do anything meaningful this turn. Being able to double damage at fast speed is not going to help us here or here because we can't even target it and it wouldn't be enough. Anyway, we definitely want to blow this up. So let's just play Harbingers of the Lightning. We'll plan to move some Dahan around to various unclear purposes. We'll wait and see where they explore, and we'll move probably move these guys out of the forest into here or here or here, depending on where they explore. Okay. Elemental boon here. We just get one of the, right. You click over here. We get white, blue, green, and which, so close. If only we had, okay, never mind, not that close. And then let's Gift of Proliferation here. It doesn't, I think, really matter what we do. I guess we can't use the third card play next turn unless we reclaim, which means there's a chance if we reclaim, well, the problem is, are we going to reclaim next turn? If we reclaim next turn, we will be very happy to have the third card play. Probably. We'll only have 5 energy next turn if we reclaim. Which means we could play this, and one other card. Well, or like, If we don't reclaim next turn, we actually want to get the energy. If we are going to be reclaiming next turn, then this doesn't do anything, and this gives us a third card play because we won't be placing a presence on our own turn to free this up. So unfortunately, to figure out what the right option is with Gift of the Proliferation here, we have to figure out how likely we are to reclaim next turn. So this is going to be gone because we're going to accelerated rot it. This is going to be okay because we're going to use creepers to blow up the thing that happens here. They're going to build here, but we can defend that with all enveloping green. They're going to build here, but any number of things can address that, including just playing Shatter Homesteads would be fine. Now, if we don't reclaim, we don't just get to play Accelerated Rot again, and playing Accelerated Rot again would be great because that's just a great thing to do with our time. We're probably going to gain a power card and gain energy with Spread of Rampant Green next turn, and we can make Spread of Rampant Green stuff fast next turn, which means the chances of Spread of Rampant Green getting some card or other that can address this is, I think, 100%, because worst case scenario, we can play these, unlock... We can't unlock Creepers 2 without help. But, I mean, worst case, we can just sacrifice this thing here to blanket. So I think we want to commit to not reclaiming next turn. If we're not reclaiming next turn, that means we're only going to play 2 cards anyway. That means we'll probably presence an energy. That means we actually want to continue on our weird Earth-like path and place this 4 somewhere. And because we are Lightning Swift Strike, we like places of power. Let's just do this. Okay. Whew. That gets cleared out. Oh, that means we can't fast Harbingers of Lightning anyway because we used that purple element to fast Accelerated Rot. Perfect. And then all enveloping green protects us there. Invaders don't build in lands with cities. I don't know if that's going to do anything, but I guess if it does, it's nice. I am definitely going to allow this Ravage. We're going to win, yes. And, yeah, didn't do anything. I guess I could blank the build there. I could just commit, blank the build there. Then we don't have to worry about that at all next turn. And so, obviously, your natural inclination might be to say we never want to blank the build here because we can just blank the Ravage if we want. But the disadvantage of that, of course, is that then they have a house there that we at some point have to deal with, whereas if we just don't let them build the house there, then we just don't have to care. Spread of Rampant Green can replace the things that they take off the board. I don't think we particularly are going to be in dire need of a place of power both here and here, right? No, no, because yeah, no. Okay, I'm gonna blank this build. I think it probably doesn't matter, but I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, they're gonna explore into jungles. That sort of sucks because we've got 2 neglected jungles, but what can you do? So now this is Prussia's. We see this symbol here. That's what I was talking about. All the 2s that are a single land explorer have this symbol on it. That triggers the stage 2 escalation on Prussia. That means once on each board with towns and villages, you add a village to a land without any. So I get to pick which land without villages we add a village to. They're going to be building in wetlands this turn, which means I'd probably rather not add them to wetlands unless we're just going to blow them all out with accelerated rot, or we have some, if we had some card. Yeah, I think we're just going to add them to places that we don't have any evidence of. This has a blight on it, but it also has a couple of places of power, so we can blanket. Let's add it there. And then down here, I mean, it's either here or somewhere we'll be very sad about, so we'll add it here. Okay. So now we get to do the old double creepers. Worth noting is that because you repeat the power, you can change the targeting on it. I've never had it come up, but it's kind of cool. This is a power that should be really cool because it's super flexible, but instead I just find really fiddly, although it's been quite good this game. Okay, so now we have to really decide as to what we're going to do about these jungles. They're getting pretty grim, which the good news is we can use accelerated rot on them to do some pretty serious beatings. 4 damage is kind of awkward here because it's still not, at this point it's no longer enough to make it so that the Dahan can clean up what's left. But it looks to me like this is the space where we are most likely to end up having a fight where we'll like having Dahan around. If we can kick accelerated rot for 8 damage, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that would kill everything except 1 explorer in there, even after they build next turn, and take the blight off. So in the universe where 2 turns from now we're using accelerated rot on a jungle, we're definitely using it on this one. That means that if we're going to be fighting in a heavily built up jungle, we're going to be fighting here. And that means we're going to want Dahan there. Next turn, the Ravage is in wetlands, which we're pretty well set for. There won't be a Ravage here. We'll defend here. There won't be a Ravage here. This Ravage will just win. So there's no point in worrying about that. So let's just shove these guys into here and hope we can save them by the time it comes up. On that same note, I think we're going to grow with Spread of Rampant Green into here. And I think we're going to gain a power card and an energy, and 3 energy. Spread of Rampant Green is mostly interested in minor power cards, but we just got this burst of 3 energy. We have 5 total power cards. I think we're going to be reclaiming and gaining a power card next turn, basically, certainly. I think we'll get our major then, because we don't really need anything this turn. Though, see, conversely, that's a really good argument for getting a major this turn, because we're going to get fasted this turn off of Lightning Boon, I suspect, just because we're only going to have 2 cards to play here, and we probably want to play them. If we get fasted off of Lightning's Boon, if we got a really juicy, slow major, we could just clean some stuff up. And that would be nice. Like, we could pretty easily replace Overgrow in a Night. It's a good card early, but we've almost run out our tracks. It's fine to play this card to get 3 Fear for 2. It's fine to play it to put one of your destroyed presence back onto the board, but it's not exciting to do either. Let's go for a major, and then when we reclaim, we will plan to get a minor then so that we can go have 6 powers and go 2, 3 play turn cycles without reclaiming. Although, with Spread of Rampant Green, reclaiming every turn is not nearly as big a deal as most spirits because you get to grow even if you reclaim. So we maybe don't care about that all that much either. The Jungle Hungers. So this one is nice. It's got a green on it. It has that unfortunate Destroy All Dahan text, but you get out of the Destroy All Dahan text if you have 2 Moon, 3 Plant, which is quite easy for us to do. It's a little awkward that we couldn't do that this turn if we ditch Overgrow in a Night as I was planning to, because it's our only other source of Moon that isn't in our discard pile. Kind of awkward. We have 3 card plays now? Yeah. So what we want to defend here. So what we'd be looking at doing then is we'd be looking at replacing either one of these or something in the discard pile with the Jungle Hungers. We'd play the Jungle Hungers. We'd play Overgrow in a Night. That would get us a lot of power this turn, and this is a good turn to have a lot of power. This target's within range 1 of a jungle. That would completely clear either of these 2, which that seems pretty nice. It would mostly clear this one even if we didn't kick it, but it would leave this building and then it would build and we'd have to deal with it. I think the Jungle Hungers is looking really good. Let's do our due diligence and look at the rest. We could take Pillar of Living Flame. We could play it this turn. We could still get 3 card plays by playing these. We'd still get our defense. This is approximately the worst element spread ever for us. It also blights the land if we cast it on our jungles or our wetlands, and we would definitely want to cast it on a jungle. Okay, that's not what's happening. Rapid Wings of Sunlight is awesome. You get Defend 5. You get some Dahan there to clean up for it. Only downside really is that it's range 0, so you have to have the Dahan already in your lands, and Defend 5 isn't always enough to fix the situation late in the game, so sometimes you have to team it up with some other defense, but luckily we have our own defense. Downside of Rapid Wings of Sunlight is twofold. None of its elements are good for us, is part 1. Part 2 is it doesn't do anything this turn, and this is a great turn to play an impactful major because we don't have anything else to do because we're in such good shape for the Ravage. Terrifying Nightmares is a fine card. What am I saying? It sort of sucks. It also has only one element we care about, and it's Moon, which we care about the least. Let's get the Jungle Hungers. This seems like fun. In terms of replacing, one obvious thing to get rid of is Elemental Boon if we want to give up on the dream of making a sweet Accelerated Rot, but sweet fast Accelerated Rot sounds both like a meme and a dream, and I want to do that, so I don't think we'll do that. Getting rid of Gift of Proliferation is getting pretty appealing because at this point, I don't think I've ever wanted to play 6 cards in a turn in my entire life. Though, I suppose if you really finished all of Lightning Swift Sprite's tracks, you could maybe afford to play 6 minors in a turn and then just reclaim them every turn. But the way the minor-major power scaling works, I'd almost always rather weave in a couple more majors than just play 6 cards. So, like, we're rapidly running into diminishing returns on playing Gift of Proliferation on Lightning Swift Strike here. We do want to unlock our 3rd card play at some point, but the sort of nice thing about being on low card plays is it pretty quickly solves itself because you don't have to reclaim all that often if you just can't play very many cards. So I think I'm talking myself into getting rid of Gift of Proliferation. It is... Yeah, and it's got the same elements as Jungle Hungers too, so it's unlikely to mess us up. We'll do that. So then we're going to play this, we're going to play this, and then we get to play one of these 2, which we'll also be able to make fast. We're going to get the kicked Creeper's Tear into Mortar. We can't get the 3rd version of it because we don't have something that has both green and white available. But we could, in theory... If we had a really built-up Sands, we could, like, team this up and do some damage to it, but we don't, and we don't have any imminent... Like, we can already clear out this Sand if we felt... Well, yeah, we could already clear out this Sand if we felt like it, or this one if we felt like it. So I don't think there's much benefit to this. Let's throw this in there. We get all enveloping green at defend 2, which is all we need. We get this for 2, which is nice because we'll clear up some random village. We can make this fast if we feel like it, which I don't think we do, but that means we can use it slow and get some value. We get to play this thing, and we can either make some fear, or probably we'll just unlock this so that we can get the second plant next turn, and that makes it more likely that we get defend 4, which we might at some point want. And then the Jungle Hungers would destroy everything in either of these places. I'm going to go with this one because we don't have any Dahan there to fight. Seems scientific. We're probably just going to hit we're almost certainly just going to hit the other one with Accelerated Rot next turn anyway. With Fast Accelerated Rot next turn anyway, which will also do a lot of good, so I don't think it matters that much which one we pick. We haven't done anything with Lightning yet because I was pontificating so much over there. Oh, right, we haven't done anything with Lightning yet, which means I'm completely silly because we're just going to unlock our extra card play anyway. We're going to unlock our third card regardless. We're going to do that this turn. And we can either unlock our third card play and gain 3 energy, or we could unlock the 5 energy slot, which is going to give us only 1 less energy over the next 2 turns and very quickly pay for itself. So let's double grow. I think we've reached the point where we have good enough coverage on Lightning that it doesn't really matter where I go with this. One of the nice things about Lightning's Swift Strike is we have no notable cards that have 0 targeting, which means once we've got this situation where we have places of power adjacent to every land on the map, which we don't have because we don't have one adjacent to here. Okay. Once we have this situation where we have places of power in or adjacent to every land on the map, it doesn't really matter anymore what we do. And then we will play both of these cards. And we're getting ravaged in wetlands. There's no point in blowing up a house. Now we're going to build in jungles. We can't stop a jungle build by blowing up a house. Probably that means we just do this at slow. We can't get them to build a house where... Yeah, I think we just do this at slow. That means we're finished playing cards. Lightning's Boon! This is the stuff. This is what Lightning Boon is for. The jungle, it hungers. Wait, what? Yeah, there we go. Okay. And then we're going to overgrow in a night. We're going to unlock that one. We're going to put it somewhere that doesn't really matter. I think we're another spirit that is generally pretty much happy with life once we have coverage on everywhere from places of power. I guess this would be the best to build up to a 2, so we'll do that. We could just create 3 fear, but I think I want to unlock the plant. I've using this for fear just seems so loose. We'll defend 2 there. We're okay with this. Wow. The jungles are either so in control or so messed up that we don't even, like, we can't even clear it out by killing up, by clearing 2 houses. So there's no reason to use either of these yet, because both of them are allowed to be slow. So, no, why would we ever stop this? We're going to win it. This is the worst part about playing Spread of Rampant Green. Occasionally it asks you if you want to stop something. You obviously don't. Obviously, there's nothing to be done about it, but it's pretty funny. This is another case where we're set up well enough with our places of power that I don't see any reason to let this guy build. If I let him build, we'd have to defend here. Otherwise, he's just going to provoke the Dahan anyway and die, and let's just have that happen. Explore into mountains. Okay, we're ravaging in jungles this turn. We don't have... No, we do. We're going to want to use the free defense here. Oh, no, because it's going to be... They're going to build. So this is going to be 6. So this defense isn't going to be enough for there. So I think we want to add the house to the jungle here, because we're going to trigger this, and that'll give us something to do with it. In terms of down here... We have to add it to a wetland, or we have to add it to a jungle. we'll go with the wetland. Do we prefer the one where we already have a presence or the one where we have Dahan to fight it? Probably if it comes up, well, I think the Dahan. I don't know that that was particularly scientific as an assessment, but we went with it. Okay, so I guess we can just clear it up with, we have these shatter homesteads that we didn't really have anything obvious to do with anyway. Though one good thing to do with it is to clear this out, because that means on the mountain ravage turn, this will be much more defensible because it'll prevent building a house or a city. We don't need, I guess we could also just clear this out and not bother with it, but I think we're going to have that. Oh, no. Oh, they already built here. Okay, so let's just clear this out and not have to deal with it next turn. And then we'll aim to use the defense here. And yeah, I got confused by the sequencing there. And then fields choked with growth. Probably we're looking at setting up to fight in some mountains with some Dahan. This looks like a mountain we're fairly likely to make an issue over. Let's push these guys into here. And then we get to tear something up with this, which we don't really have a strong... See, I should have... This is why this power always gets me. I should have remembered about this when I was choosing where to put those villages. Like, if I'd put one here, if I'd put this one here instead, I could have gotten it with Creepers tear into mortars. Now I'm going to have to get this, which is fine, but since sands don't appear to be coming up anytime soon, it's not clear to me that's going to be very useful. Okay. Looks to me like we're reclaiming on both. I guess in theory we could avoid reclaiming here, but it doesn't seem to make any sense. So let's click that first, since we can't undo past it, figure out whether we want majors or minors, and sort it out. We're on 3 card plays here. We have 4 total cards. They're all good. We definitely want a minor for Lightning Swift Strike, although we're almost certainly reclaiming next turn too, because we just sort of want to play Accelerated Rot whenever we can. Though, I guess we might not, because Accelerated Rot is going to be less good. It's not going to be all that, since it only targets jungles or wetlands. It's going to be great this turn because we've got jungles or wetlands to fight in. It's going to be much less good next turn, where we're going to be fighting in the mountains. On the other hand, what I'd really like to do is just get a minor that produces green and yellow, because then we can kick Accelerated Rot and just wipe this off the map. Otherwise, we're going to have to get some sort of defense or something, because this does 4 damage, which is not actually going to be enough to save us here otherwise. So Lightning Swift Strike gets a minor power. We didn't get one with both yellow and green. Admittedly, not super surprising. So let's see. Call to Isolation immediately springs to mind. It's got a yellow on it, which gets us closer to living the Accelerated Rot dream. It also costs 0, which is nice when we're building up to play just 1,000,000 powers in a turn. Finally, it looks to me like it will probably save us here. It lets us push a village or an explorer per Dahan, and we've got 2 Dahan here. Certainly pushing 2 villages out of here. We would have to push both villages, because we're going to get basically... we're going to get basically these 2 with the Accelerated Rot, which means if we pushed both villages out, we'd be fine. Obviously, I would rather defend so that those Dahan would get to kill people, but we don't have a defense here. The other option is Call to Bloodshed, which does 1 damage per Dahan. We could make it fast, because that's who we are. That would deal 2 damage here, which isn't enough. We could... This is a push, so unfortunately we couldn't get 4 Dahan in here, which would make it enough. because there aren't two Dahan in the same land. If it were a gather, we could, because gather we can get them from any adjacent lands. Push, they all have to come from the same place. Yep. Oh, wait. Right. This is a gather, but we can't play both halves of it. We could make a bunch of fear, and yeah, that's not happening. Let's see what we're going to get with Spread of Rampant Green. Spread of Rampant Green is also clearly getting a minor because we're only going to have 2 energy this turn, so there's just no way we're going to be able to play a major if we get it. If target land is jungle or sands, defend 4. And the range is 2. So drift down into slumber. It looks like the obvious pick here. It has a green on it, which we like. It saves us here, which makes our lives much easier. Yeah. Call of the Dahan Ways is a very sweet card. You get to turn explorers into Dahan or villages into Dahan. And we are very good at getting the double moon to replace village with Dahan with it. Call of Dahan Ways is a premium card for any game involving Lightning Swift Strike too, because obviously it does way more good for your combat math if you get to do this at fast and just turn some Dahan, some explorer, some village that was about to fight you instead goes over to the Dahan and just like blow them out. It's great. But as previously discussed, replacing one village with a Dahan will not be sufficient over here. So it's not... No. What are we getting? What are we getting for lightning? The other option is, if we really think that Call of the Dahan Ways is super sweet, which I do. It is a super sweet card. It does have the downside that it doesn't make a plant, but we're going to have a bunch of free plant anyway. Oh, they're coming up loudly to watch TV. Sorry. Please forgive. So we shouldn't overhear their TV. They should be out of the hall soon. Okay. Plant is we're about to, we haven't done our growth yet, so we're about to get plant out of here. We're going to get 2 automatic plant off of the track, which means we just need 1 to do this. So I don't really care about giving up the plant on... At that point, we're actually at least as worried about water because we need 1 or 2 to get to the higher levels and we don't get any off the track. So we're going to team up Call of the Dahan Ways here and Call to Bloodshed here is my current plan. And then over here, we're going to play Accelerated Rot. So the problem here is, in order for this plan to work, we need to play Call to Bloodshed as a fast. But we also really want to play Accelerated Rot as a fast. And because neither of them have an air symbol, and we only have 3 card plays thus far, this isn't actually going to work. So that means we need to reconsider what's going on over here. Instead, we've got to think about... We could Call to Isolation. Call to Isolation would bail us out over there because it would knock out 1 village. Then the question is whether we'd rather have that. Call to Isolation is also nice because it has the air element on it, though not the fire. But it's a fast with an air on it, which means it gets to turn Accelerated Rot fast. It doesn't matter this turn because we need to play this anyway. But it might matter in the future. We could also reconsider getting... We could also reconsider... yeah, we are still allowed to undo into both. That's good. So we could just go back to the Drift Down into Slumber plus... go down to the Drift Down into Slumber plan here, at which point we no longer need to care about getting anything that matters this turn. We probably still take Call to Isolation, but we can use it to prevent a build here. Yeah, that seems pretty good. I love Call of the Dahan Ways so much. Like, I just like that story where, like, the colonists come and they're like, wait a minute, these Dahan are sweet and they have spirit gods, let's join them, that's fun. But it's not... This turn is going to be so much better and so much more straightforward if we just take this and call it a day, so we're going to do that. So in that case, we're going to play Call to Isolation. We're going to push this guy out of here, maybe into here if the math works out right, otherwise into here, and that's going to prevent a build here, and that's obviously really valuable. Then we're going to play Accelerated Rot, and we don't even have to play this if we don't want to, depending on what Spread of Rampant Green is going to do, because this Drift Down into Slumber will just be enough. So let's do Spread of Rampant Green's growth. Our plan was to put it here, and I don't see any reason to diverge from that plan. Our plan was also to unlock Plant, which I don't think we want to play 4 cards this turn. And actually, our energy is bad enough that we might want to get the 3rd energy and gain energy next turn. So we're going to do that. I really want to be able to play the Jungle Hungers again, because it's nice. But we need to get Spread of Rampant Green's energy in shape if we're going to do that with any regularity. So we need Drift Down into Slumber here. Drift Down into Slumber plus Accelerated Rot here will take care of it. That's fine. We don't... Elemental Boon doesn't look to me like it does anything here. I guess it could maybe get us... No, we're never going to get up to 3 fire because we've played 0 fire. We're just short of Accelerated Rot because we can't get the 3rd plant anyway. We're close. We're close. We're close. I wish if we'd gotten a plant Sun card off of the minor power for lightning and just been able to rot everything out over there, that would have been glorious. But whatever. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. We need to play one of these cards that has a blue symbol because we need to turn on defense 2 for here. Do we have more villages to clean up? No, right? Because we don't have presence here at all. I guess we could overgrow in a night to get a presence here. That could get us 3 energy next turn too, so that really only costs 1. If we do that, then after they build here, we could take out this village, or we could even do this to take it out first, although that seems kind of pointless. It feels like maybe we'd rather just shatter homesteads if we want to do that. So I guess saves an energy and accomplishes something broadly similar. I think what we probably want to do, though, is shatter homesteads on slow to take out what they build here. We're going to call to isolation this guy, so that'll be okay. We'll take out what they build there with shatter the homesteads, so that'll be okay. This we're going to have to fight. This we're going to have to fight. That means this is the priority because there are Dahan there. So let's set it up so that we can clear out the village there, and then if we can get 4 defense off of this, which I think should be doable, we should be in good shape. That doesn't... Oh, no, that does. That's addressing the builds. Yeah, okay, so we're in pretty good shape. Okay. So let's start with the Accelerated Rot here. I don't think it really matters what we blow up. We'll do that because it makes more fear, although I guess we don't really need a fear card this turn, so maybe we wanted to make less fear. No, it makes the same fear. Never mind. Who cares? Call to isolation here. We'll push this guy. So it doesn't work to push... Oh, no. Whoops. Not push the Dahan. Sorry. Call to isolation here. Push the Explorer. We don't have the spare... We're exactly defending here, so we'll just push it into here. See, this is the one case where it's kind of sad that I got rid of Ravaging Storm, whatever it is that does 1 damage to everything, because if we were clearing that guy out with, if we were clearing the guy in 1 out with that, we'd push this guy into here and get them both, and that would be sort of fun. But I think we're not going to have much trouble cleaning up this guy here. Then we're going to overgrow in a night into here. That'll get us 1 of those energy back. That's nice. Now we can hit that with our combo, and we need our defense here. And Shatter Homesteads we're going to play as a slow, We don't need it anywhere. Ravages, nope, 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 nope. Okay. I guess the other option was we could have played Shatter Homesteads here and gathered that guy into there, but there's not a huge difference between doing that and shattering what this guy builds. That would have been a little bit better if we wanted to do that, but I think... Oh, no, because we're going to shatter what they build here. We already had a plan for shatter. Yep. Oh, good. Defend 2 in all lands with Spirit. There is a Spirit you can get later that lets you see some of the fear cards in advance. That's honestly really the only way they become very useful, unless you get a situation like we had in that first game where you just need a very small bailout somewhere and you can sort of hope it works. You just don't... It's really hard to count on it. Oh, right, this is their extra build. They're going to explore into wetlands, so let's put it in the desert here. Actually, maybe we want to put it in the desert here. I don't think it matters. I'm generally happier with a slightly more built-up spot, because then if you get one of the big sweepers, you get them all at once, so we'll put it there. In terms of here, the only way to avoid putting it into a... We don't want to put it into into the wetland, so we'll just put it here. Okay. This game is pretty well under control. Not shockingly, this is... obviously, the adversary makes it harder, and I think we're seeing that, but this is still significantly lower in the difficulty than the ones I've played on the tabletop. Generally, I've found where I've started struggling have been the adversary 3 or 4 levels. My current plan is to go through the easier stuff so people can sort of see the progression up, and because it does help me brush the rust off. I'm not really recording these in advance of posting them, though, so if you happen to find this and you early on and you have a strong interest in me more quickly progressing up to the stuff that I find challenging, I'd be glad to do that. My current feeling is that I am mostly interested in showing off the game rather than necessarily immediately challenging myself. In fact, once it gets to the ones I find challenging, I'm going to have to decide whether people want to see the ones where I fail. That's something that you could comment on too. Anyway, let me know if you have strong feelings about that. Meanwhile, let's finish this up, because these games do take a little while anyway. So, we got... I got sort of distracted by that tangent, but we're in very good shape here. So, the strong question we have this turn is, are we in good enough shape that we just aren't going to bother reclaiming with Lightning Swift Strike? I think there's not a lot of benefit to not reclaiming, because what we do is unlock... We get some more energy, which would be nice, but other than that, we'd unlock card play 4 and maybe 5 when we've only got 2 cards to play this turn. Meanwhile, we could reclaim and get a minor, trying again to hit the accelerated rot kicker, which would really put the game away. And if we do that, then we're in a much better position to play 3 cards 2 turns in a row or whatever. That just seems better to me. I don't see any reason to reclaim with Spread of Rampant Green here. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do the gain power card, gain energy thing. Then we can play both Elemental Boon and Jungle Hungers if that comes up. And we'd love to play Jungle Hungers, and we'd love to kick Accelerated Rot. It's going to be hard to play Jungle Hungers at fast and kick Accelerated Rot, is that right? No, we still just need to get a sun and a plant. If we get something that has a plant but not a sun, we don't have enough card plays yet that we could play. We'd have to weave in Called Isolation, which means we wouldn't be able to play both Jungle Hungers and Accelerated Rot. But we could just play Jungle Hungers at slow too, of course. Either way, I still am having energy troubles over here, and I don't think I'm going to get anything better than the Jungle Hungers. This is really a pretty premium card for Spread of Rampant Green. The fact that it's so easy to kick it and just destroy one city and everything else in the tile. Range 1 from a jungle on this board. Okay, it can't hit here, and it can't hit here, but it hits almost everywhere. We're just going to get miners with both. Oh, I guess I should do them. No. Okay. So, Lightning Swift Strike. Okay, we don't have a sun and a green, but we have multiple options that are green. I want to kick... Look, my goal for this game is to kick Accelerated Rot. It just seems sweet. So, I'm going to pick one of these cards that's going to let me do that. These two are both 1 mana, 2 damage. They'd be fine. But this one is the better of the two because it has this red element, which means that we might someday be able to use our special power. But this has both red and purple, which is good for these special powers. It's a fast card with purple on it, and it's got the green. I think Lore of the Unknown is the pretty clear pick here. Sap the Strength of Multitude is a very powerful card. It's quite good, too, if you're primary heir like this guy, because then you get to increase the range by 1, which is good. But we're doing pretty well defending now. We just want to close it out, and that means I want to kick Accelerated Rot on people until they die. Lore of the Unknown is also great. It lets you gather. It's great on boards like this where we have some lands that are empty. It can be less good at the higher difficulties because garbage gets onto the board, and so having to target a land without invaders you can get to the point where there just aren't any. But that doesn't seem to be happening here. Okay, so in order for this to work, we need to play exactly these cards. And then we are short 1 plant. We're just short 1 of everything. So that means we're going to have to play Elemental Boon and get Plant, Water, Sun. And that's fine. We can afford to do that. Oh, we haven't gotten our +3 yet here, so we can afford to do more or less whatever, I think. So let's look at... That makes me a little more... Maybe we just get a major. There's no way we're playing... Even with 6, though, since we need to play this turn, there's no way we're playing 2 majors, so we're not going to do that. We want green or blue, so Dark Entangled Woods would give us defend 3 for Ravages this turn and some fear. That's a pretty natural fit. It also has a moon on it. Moon green is... moon and plant is something we like because that helps us kick Jungle Hungers. Right, we need 2... Yeah, okay, so we definitely want this because that'll kick the Jungle Hungers. Okay, so... I don't think we had strong plans for this presence other than to unlock a 4th card play, which I guess we can use this turn. We can just play everything. That sounds fun. I'm not super convinced it matters where we put this thing, but just throw it here. I think this game is mostly done, which... One of the fun things about Spirit Island is by the time you're wondering how to kick all of your major powers, the game is, in fact, usually pretty much done. But let's just make sure we're not going to get horribly ravaged to death. We probably actually will. Huh. I guess the downside of this plan is that we get horribly ravaged to death, which in the mountains, which we're not substantively defending at all. For the most part, we don't care, I think. Oh, wait. We picked up Dark Entangled Woods, which is super important, actually. 3 defense takes care of this, and then this we can just take a Blight. We'll go to Blighted Island, which is annoying, but I'm not sure I've shown it off yet, so we'll get to see what it is. Fine. And then we'll use Call to Isolation, Lore of the Unknown. That will let us... Oh. Yeah, we'll use... Wait. You know, I went through all this work, and then there's, like, nowhere that's actually worth kicking Accelerated Rot anymore. Because we've just cleared everything out. So I think what we want to do is wait until next turn to kick Accelerated Rot. Because they're going to build up in some of these... I mean, we could hit them here or something. But... we maybe just want to try to fight here instead. Do we have a good way to do that? I don't think we really do. No, we've really gone all in on the Accelerated Rot over here. This one has gone moderately off the rails. I guess we're going to get Defend 4 here. We could get defend 4 here off of this, which means, yeah, okay, let's like avoid going to Blighted Island if we can. We can also we can probably kick up Thundering Destruction to a pretty ludicrous extent with the help of this. I guess we can't go above the 4-3 because we don't have enough card plays yet, but we could definitely 4-3 it. And then we could give Jungle Hungers fast. Yeah, this is going to be a lot better. I want to see this happen too, but unfortunately the time for it is we're going to let them build here and we'll get them with it next turn because we're going to be reclaiming next turn anyway, at least over here. And we can keep both of these cards. We can keep, this is the combination we need to play out of this hand. So we won't have to reclaim over here to do it next turn. This way we get Thundering Destruction. We can blow up this house. And once we blow up this house, the passive defense over here will be enough to take care of here. We can clean up various other things with this. We can Lightning Boon, and we can Jungle Hungers to clear out. I mean, we can also just clear this out with Jungle Hungers. Yeah, this is a lot better. It's a little less exciting. But, I mean, it'll be our second kicked fasted Jungle Hungers, which is also pretty sweet. And then we'll just do this next turn and clean up. We're already on Terror level 2. We're quite a ways from Terror level 3, actually, which is too bad because it's going to be hard to get all the buildings off of here. I say, but that's probably not true. We're going to get this one this turn. We're going to get these ones this turn. Actually, we get Jungle Hungers here. And Harbingers in here. Yeah, okay. So, let's do this. We're going to Thundering Destruction. Oh, no. We're not going to do that because we want to get the house, but that means we need to Elemental Boon over here to get an extra fire. Other than that, I guess let's figure it out before we zoom in. I sort of hate the Elemental Boon interface because you have to figure out what you want first, and like you can't click on... I know why you can't click on there, but anyway, we're definitely doing this. That's going to save us there, and then that stuff's all going to die. We might as well get... I don't know that a third Creeper's Tear into Mortar is going to do anything, because what we're going to do with it probably is take out this house, because we need to prioritize taking out the things in the lands that we're not going to get ravaged in, so we can clean up, or we'll like clean up this or whatever. Yeah, that doesn't seem like it's going to do any good, but we aren't going to need more than Defend 2 either. And there's nothing else to kick, so I guess it mostly doesn't really matter what elements we get with this. We might as well get a green and a white, because maybe we'll end up with something to do with this based on the fear card effect or something. So we get red, green, white, and that means we've now turned this up to the higher level, and we've now got what we want here, which is Thundering Destruction to destroy this thing, which means Defend 2 is now enough here. We could also have used the elements to get Defend 4 here, but obviously it's better to blow up the bigger thing. Then Harbingers of the Lightning can clear out everything in there in the Ravage by pushing those things in and get us a Fear. We do want to grind through these Fear cards if we can to get to Fear level 3, just because it'll make it... Obviously, if we get to Fear level 3, we're just going to win instantly, because we're going to have no... Speaking of which, we're going to have no big houses left on the board at this turn, and probably never will again. Fields Choke with green, I think... So what we're going to do is we're going to end up clearing the most crowded of these wetlands on the next turn with Accelerated Rot, which is just going to take out everything. I mean, 8 damage is going to clear... We can't put enough stuff in there that 8 damage won't clear it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push one of these spare houses into this wetland, and then I'm going to clear it out. And then this is slow, fine. Shatter Homesteads we could leave as slow. Yeah, we might as well. If we're going to clear out a random house with it, well, the problem is... Now we're getting so close to winning that, in fact, if we're going to clear out a random house with it, we maybe just want to hit this one, because at that point, What we're worried about is getting the ones that we can't ravage out. But we also have 2 fear cards coming that might clean up some of these. There's no downside to waiting. They're not going to build here. I'm not going to take out anything where they are going to build. So we're going to wait and see what happens. Okay, so a bunch of random explorers get blown up by buildings. That doesn't do anything. Each player removes a village or an explorer from a land. Okay, see, that matters because now the things I was considering blowing up with Shadow of the Homesteads, we just get to blow up with that. Oh, wait, now we just win. Right? I think these are the last 2 buildings. Oh, no. I guess there was one somewhere. Where was it? Oh, there were the 2 in there. Okay. Well, you know, on the one hand, that's kind of sad. On the other hand, it's just as well because now Accelerated Rot gets to do its thing. I think at this point, we're so close to winning that we're just going to burn. There's no reason not to burn these things to stop buildings from showing up. Oh, and they rolled the coastal lands. The other big deal with the coastal lands, and the reason it's often better than other level 2s, is it doesn't have the escalation symbol. So if it had had the escalation symbol, they would have gotten a bunch of free houses that I'd then have to deal with. Instead, it's now going to be pretty trivial to win this game. Yeah, in fact, we get to end it in style. The only buildings left on the entire island are in here. So this classic Creepers tear into mortar. We can do 3 damage. Nowhere where we can use it. Okay. So now all we have to do is clear this land out, and we have the perfect tool for it in Kicked Accelerated Rot. Finally, its time has come. Let's do this. It doesn't matter at all what we do with the growth options here because all we need to do is play Accelerated Rot and make it fast. This will make it fast. This will kick it. Bam. Easily sorted. Let's send a message by putting our presence in the land we're about to blow up. Get those cards out there. What? Who's getting a card? Oh, I had to reclaim here, so I get a card. Fine. Let's get a Sweet Major, and who cares? We're not going to fast it. I guess we could do a bunch of damage. This deals 5 damage in a mountain or wetland, so it wouldn't quite also do it. This is also obviously a sweet card to get as Lightning Swift Strike because you're well positioned to kick it and it can do a bunch of damage. But sort of weirdly enough, it's in some ways worse on the Lightning Spirit, even though it is literally called Talons of Lightning, because if you look at it, you don't get to kick it up to do more damage in the target land. And usually the way the play pattern works is you have one really built up land you really want to clear out. Something like Accelerated Rot is better for that if you can kick it. Now it's going to be harder for you to kick Accelerated Rot, but because your special ability lets you make cards like this fast, you're sort of weirdly better off with those. Or like Cleansing Floods if you think you can somehow get 4 blue, but good luck with that. Anyway, I digress. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to click cards. All that I need to do is keep Elemental Boon, so we'll just get rid of Overgrowing a Night for symbolic reasons. We gotta do this. Send a message. Okay, so we play those. We play Elemental Boon. We win. I think there's no reason to do other stuff. Even if we somehow didn't win, whatever. Play a few cheap cards in case I somehow messed it up, but I don't need to think about this the way I am. Okay, there's just no way I messed this one up. So Accelerated Rot, we need 3 sun, 2 water, 3, right. So, yep. Now it's kicked. We even get to remove the Blight. We get to terror level 3 pointlessly. There are no cities on the island, but also no villages. Okay, there we go. Yay! Once again, we are victorious. As I said, these ones... Oh, and we even got some achievements, because I guess I hadn't won one yet with... I know I've won one with Lightning with Strike. Yeah, I don't know why I hadn't unlocked those achievements already, but in any case, as I said, the Prussia 1 is lower than I feel like I have much chance of losing at, but I think that for the early videos, there's a benefit to being able to really walk through things heavily. That said, I'll probably walk through things heavily even with the later ones because it's helpful. If you would like me to go more quickly to the ones that are hard for me, just let me know. I find it fun to play Spirit Island, and I think it's cool to watch someone be good at something sometimes too. But I'm certainly willing to listen to feedback. Anyway, thank you for watching. Next time we will go up to a slightly higher level of European perhaps, or at least we'll do a different adversary. Okay, thanks a lot.